The Medal of Honor is our nation's highest and rarest military honor. It was created in 1861 by President Abraham Lincoln. It is bestowed by the President in the name of the Congress upon members of the armed forces who distinguish themselves through conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his or her own life above and beyond the call of duty.
You displayed a heroism in the blink of an eye that will inspire for generations. Valor worthy of our nation's highest military decoration, the Medal of Honor.
The citation reads, "Conspicuous gallantry." That's the thing that always stands out for me, that it's above and beyond anything that you would comprehend happening in terms of a natural evolution of the battlefield. It's a person who has gone well above and beyond in their duties, and more than likely in the saving of countless lives.
I swam across the river and brought back 3 of my brothers. I was wounded, but I didn't quit trying. I kept praying to the man above to give me the strength to do my job. I didn't ask the one above to save me, all I asked was, sir, help me do my job, which my job was to take care of my brothers. I did for my brothers what I knew they would do for me.
Prestigious is an understatement.
Once a year, all the Medal of Honor recipients to come together for the sole purpose of perpetuating the legacy of the medal.
This is the reunion, right? This is the gathering. They get together and they get an opportunity to see one another if they haven't for a year.
It's a huge treat for us recipients. We get to see each other only once in a while. When I was first decorated, there were 400 of us almost. Now there are, what, 80? So every time we meet is very, very important to all of us. So this is a great treat. It's a great treat to be in Knoxville.
The recipients themselves, I mean, they just breathe of patriotism, right, based on what they did. But it's wonderful to see the city come out the way it does. Well, I think the average person probably doesn't know too much about the Medal of Honor, and that was part of the reason why we brought the convention here, to educate people.
I think that when Joe was first talking to me about the convention being here, it seemed like a pipe dream.
Well, the challenges 3 years ago aren't necessarily the challenges now. 3 years ago was get the word out in publicity, and that's certainly not the problem now. I mean, you can't watch a news channel and not hear them talking significantly about the Medal of Honor convention.
So many people helped bring this all together, and it was really amazing to see the entire team gel as it did and come around and rally around this program and the convention.
I would describe the character development program in order of importance as number 1, 2, and 3 for the reason why they ultimately selected Knoxville, that natural patriotism.
The character development program was one of the things that stands out in why Knoxville's so special.
When they got into the classrooms and they saw the patriotism of the students, it was very, very, very important.
3 years prior to our convention, Joe Thompson, Chris Korn, and I went to the Louisville convention, and we were told by the VP of the foundation, who was responsible for the character development program, she told us very plainly, if you want this convention in your town, you have to embrace that which is important to the society, the character development program.
It was the recipient's way, the Congressional Medal of Honor Society's way to say, we're not going to live forever. But what we have grown into as a country is far too important to let this opportunity pass by without sharing it with some of the youth of the country. And so they decided to begin this project that became the character development program. What Tennessee has done is we've taken it and begin to implement it across the state in a very deliberate and methodical approach, doing trainings for the program in Knoxville and Chattanooga and Nashville and Memphis and Tri-Cities.
The character development program is all about teaching and sharing and having discussions about the values that make people contributors, positive influences in society, and so they aim at the middle school level.
We start as a baseline of doing some Medal of Honor lessons to help the kids, for the students to see, okay, these are our standards for character. We were able to put a true picture of what heroism is in front of our students.
The core values of that curriculum are commitment, integrity, courage, sacrifice, patriotism, and citizenship.
I thought it was really interesting to see what other people have done. Some of them weren't even aware that they had sacrificed themselves for our country. I don't have the courage to sacrifice myself for others.
The key to this whole thing is you don't have to go to war in order to demonstrate this kind of character. I thought, this would be good for my classrooms.
The uniqueness of this program is it can be incorporated into every subject. The character development program can be a huge addition to any school curriculum that's out there. It doesn't cost any money. It doesn't cost any extra manpower. And then to watch the students take on a life of their own and really identify with these heroes, and then for many of them getting a chance to meet them in person, when they came here, rock stars in their eyes.
I heard over and over again, just, wow, not for anyone's benefit, but a sincere wow. That was pretty cool to see the kids get so excited.
There's always a search in public schools to find ways to teach character. We thought it would be a great idea if the state of Tennessee would adopt the Medal of Honor character development program to be the official character development program for the state of Tennessee in the public schools.
It's been widely accepted, not just here in East Tennessee, but throughout our state and really across the whole country.
They, awarded us with that Uncommon Valor Award and gave us the flag.
We understand in the volunteer state that freedom isn't free, that sacrifices for a lot of people have been made, by a lot of people have been made and continue to be made today. So we value that a great deal, and I think it's something that if we forget what that's all about, then we fail as a country. It was a community that brought the convention to Knoxville. It wasn't just the CDP.
We are overwhelmed with excitement today, and been a day we've anticipated for quite some time now, and we're incredibly excited about it and very thankful that you're here.
Watching the flag go up, I think it was a very surreal moment for Joe and I, probably for the entire team, but for Joe and I, because it made it very tangible, right? It made it very real.
In past conventions, it was kind of a ceremonial thing. At City Hall, you raise the flag, a couple people salute it, you take it down, and that's that. For us, it was really, the way we built it, this was the start of the convention.
But to actually see the flag being raised and have Joe Marm with us, our recipient liaison, knowing that here it is, they're really coming to Knoxville, and we know the city is ready for them.
We're the greatest country in the world because of our veterans. And so thank you and God bless you.
We had a year's worth of events that essentially started the day we raised that flag. And so for me, it was reality. It's like, all right, this thing, we're past the point of no return. The convention is coming, whether we're ready or not. And and that for me was kind of surreal, but it also for the community said, all right, these guys really are coming now. The Knoxville community, I mean, the amount of enthusiasm and support that we had from the Knoxville community was, I can't imagine that it would be any more than what we got.
I'm leading a project to make quilts for each of the currently living 79 or so Medal of Honor recipients.
The different quilts that you're going to see are all amazing. And there's a story behind every one of them.
We are currently working on the outdoor and print campaign for the Medal of Honor Convention.
It's a huge honor for us and privilege really to be a part of a project like this.
It's just a really exciting time for us to be involved in the Medal of Honor Convention. When I was contacted and asked if we would participate, I mean, I can't imagine anybody saying no.
I got to go to the airport, meet the plane, you know, introduce myself and accompany them from the airport back to the convention site.
One of the beauties of our airport is that it's small, but it's really great, right? I mean, it has a very homey feel to it, and working with the leadership of the airport, they were just amazing, right? From the huge display that we wanted to set up to welcome people coming in and out of Knoxville.
We were offered the opportunity to incorporate this display as a part of our welcome for the event in September, and when we learned how magnificent it was and is, we wanted it, and we're very happy that it's here. It's our hope that they will appreciate immediately how excited we are that they have come here for their annual meeting.
It's definitely probably kind of like a smack in the face when you walk up or come up the escalator and you see it, and it's just like, wow, you just stand there and think for a little bit. It really makes you think.
I can honestly tell you, there was not a person that we approached, irrespective of job or what level they were or where they were, that we approached that didn't say yes, where, when, how. What, can I stand on a corner and hold a flag? I mean, what can I do in any way, shape, or form?
This particular convention is heritage is the theme, the Medal of Honor as an heirloom, and nothing better to represent that than having a quilt. And each of these quilts is going to be individually designed, some of them very intricately designed, some of them just basic, good quilting, something to wrap yourself up in on a cold day and say, somebody thought about me and said, thanks for what you're doing.
It was really important for me that we presented the Medal of Honor in a manner that was respectful and indicative of the prestige of the medal, and I think we did, and that means that it's not me working on some print shop program trying to present the medal. That we let professionals do the job. And I think that came through with literally everything that we did, I think, was really first class.
We have the chance to not only express the values of East Tennessee, but we have the ability to do that as it relates to these virtues that this particular organization holds up.
This is something that excites me because we're going to honor gentlemen who fought for their country, who fought for our freedom. And the reason we enjoy the freedom we enjoy today is because of these types of guys going out and putting it on the line for us.
We actually had to turn off our volunteer site on the website, volunteer signups, like 12 days in or 14 days in, because we had nearly 300 people that had already said yes. So when we told the society that, I think that gave them a little bit of an inkling that Knoxville was absolutely for real. All of our volunteers, everybody in the greater East Tennessee area, they came out to make these great treasures, our national heroes, feel like they were part of the East Tennessee community.
It took a lot of work, a lot of planning, a lot of coordination, but the recipients loved it, and we loved doing it. So I count that as a win all around.
Really, the week of the convention, it was just a frenzy.
And the other two, well, they picked them up at the hotel.
And people just came out of their homes to stand on the side of the road, and it was covered with people waving flags, and you could see people getting emotional and holding up signs.
We knew it was going to be really something we wanted to capture as a TV station. The idea really sprang from the fact that a lot of the ceremonies regarding the Medal of Honor recipients are private. And we wanted to create something that would be a public way of showing support and appreciation for these veterans. Something that would invite everybody in the community just to come and say thank you. Just the support we see regularly from our regular series on East Tennessee veterans. Every week we run a service and sacrifice story or have a service and sacrifice interview. And the reception from that I knew would translate into the crowds we saw. And it was just terrific to see all different ages there. It was people from the World War II generation on down to young kids first and second graders. And we knew it was going to be one of the only public opportunities for people to just come out and say thank you and wave signs and express their support and their love for America's greatest heroes. But for them as a group to be thanked by a crowd of people from East Tennessee, I think was really special.
When you think of Tennessee cuisine, it doesn't get any better than Blackberry Farm. Depending on which publication you read, it's our nation's highest rated resort. It's really a farm-to-table concept that they created, where almost everything that you eat there is grown on property. It's thousands of acres in the Smoky Mountains.
When we found out that they were hosting the event here, we were truly honored to have this very special group with us.
One of the things that we got right with Blackberry was it was just recipients and their guests. So that was really the reunion night. And what you saw, if you look at the pictures, was a lot of hugging and a lot of handshaking. So it was a very friendly atmosphere. Everybody, I mean, they were hugging and kissing wives, and I mean, it was a great scene. It really was.
They are very excited to be with us this evening. That it's been a very special journey, and I think many of them were surprised to end up at Blackberry Farm here at our barn, and I hope they have a great time tonight.
When we were first approached with it, there was not even a hesitation of, yes, we'll do it. And you know, just the past 6 months building up to it, you know, I've been waiting for it.
Blackberry really opened their whole home to the recipients, and it was fantastic. I mean, it really was.
But I wanted to introduce you folks, our honored guests, to the members of the Oak Ridge Sportsmen's Association.
Don't kid yourself, they're still warriors. They still like to shoot things. They still like to shoot at things. Several of the recipients, Alan Lynch, Sammy Davis, are, you know, teach or have taught, you know, sniper school.
You want to shoot the target just above it. You see it?
So how do I
Okay,
get
so you
it
see,
up?
you see the white target.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to go just a little bit off the center of it, probably a finger or two, just a little bit. All right? When you feel comfortable, squeeze the trigger and let's send it down range. It's
Is it
going
gonna
to kick.
back?
Huh?
Is the gun gonna kick back?
It's going to kick.
Okay.
So hold it tight.
That was one of the cool things for me, was watching, you know, or seeing them actually teach students, some of which who have never fired a rifle, how to shoot a sniper rifle. I think that was very memorable.
There you go.
That was. How'd I do?
I don't know. He'll tell.
We'll see.
Target 3. You shoot a
How
target
did it
3.
feel? Yeah.
That was fast.
Yeah.
You were a great teacher.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe I've shot a gun.
Yeah, you know, I think maybe the average person, you think of a Medal of Honor recipient, you think of somebody truly heroic, you know, the John Wayne over the hill, you know, follow me kind of image. These were ordinary people who, in dangerous situations, did extraordinary things. I met one, he threw himself on a hand grenade. And was severely damaged leg. He's from a small town in Northern California now, and he likes to bake pies and take them to the families of wounded warriors or to the widows of veterans, which is hardly, you know, something you think the John Wayne gung-ho kind of person would do.
We were sitting at a table one day, and literally a helicopter flew by, and I kind of had this light went off in my head, and I said, well, why don't we bring the recipients to schools in helicopters? And as stupid as an idea as that sounds, you know, as unlikely as an idea as that sounds, when you've got 78 Medal of Honor recipients standing behind you, you can almost get anything you want from the military.
Our helicopter unit out of Smyrna brought some Blackhawks up, and we flew the guys, I don't know if you guys remember that, but we flew the guys to some schools. They had asked Fort Campbell to come down and move some of the Medal of Honor recipients to some of the schools, and I said, hey, I got helicopters, and they're right here in Tennessee, and we can move folks around.
How cool would it be to have these recipients who we're going to take out to the schools be delivered via a Black Hawk helicopter? Now, who doesn't like that?
We brought the helicopters in from Middle Tennessee overnight, made sure everything was laid on, wanted to make sure we crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, so we spent probably a week planning that mission like it was a combat mission.
These visitors are different. I mean, you're going to have lots of visitors come to your school, but it's very unlikely you're ever going to have a visitor come to your school in a Black Hawk helicopter.
So we went out to 12 area schools, sent recipients out 2 by 2 to each of those schools and took them there by helicopter.
The kids loved the helicopter landings. I mean, it just was mind-boggling to see these guys landing in these helicopters and getting out, and the reception of the kids, their eyes were big and they were waving and screaming, and it was just a dynamic welcome for these recipients. I think that was certainly a highlight for so many people, was to see the way they entered those schools.
I think it was just fantastic to see that aircraft, that symbol of our power and grace, come down in the schools was fantastic. I think that was a tremendous punctuation for our community in the convention.
The recipients absolutely loved it too. I mean, they're kids at heart too, and they loved riding in the helicopters as much as the school children liked seeing them land.
You know, sometimes everything's in the presentation, and that presentation of bringing those heroes in that particular method was an attention getter.
We have done dozens of school visits with recipients. There's no question that the helicopter certainly set the stage and let everybody know that these are really important individuals, and the kids loved it, and the recipients did too.
Is when we talk about service, we're not talking about service in the military. We're talking about service in your community. Every one of you can do something to make a better place to live.
They want people to step up in their communities. It doesn't mean they have to wear a uniform. It just means they need to serve something greater than themselves.
The common thread was they're extraordinarily nice, ordinary people. They didn't, you know, they were grateful for whatever attention and hospitality was shown them. They welcomed the opportunity to talk to young people about their experiences, about service and commitment to the community. But you know, they didn't have halos or a sense of grandeur about them. They were just good folks.
I think where we hit the home run with the quilts was how they were displayed in the convention center.
When I was coming here today, I met a man that was walking by the convention center, and I said to him, I said, "Do you realize what's going on in there?" And he says, "What do you mean?" I says, "We're honoring Medal of Honor soldiers, and we've got quilts in there that you really need to go see. They're just beautiful. They're all different interpretations of how they want it."
And we, rightfully so, displayed them as works of art. You saw them on black velour draping. As we had all the recipients at the convention center for the Veterans Appreciation Luncheon, took them immediately to see their quilts.
So it's very emotional for people. It's a very beautiful thing, and we can't wait to meet him.
They were so nervous. I mean, it was, they were very emotional too. I mean, a lot of them, you got to, some of these, it took them, in some of them, a year to make the quilt, you know, from research to conception. So they were very nervous.
Really waiting to see him. I want to shake that man's hand.
You know, these are our nation's greatest youth, but they're also veterans. And the recipients like thanking veterans for their service, because they're all veterans as well.
And we came up with the idea for having an opportunity for the recipients to be with just the veterans, a very intimate environment, as intimate as we could make it for the amount of people that wanted to be there. And so the luncheon was the very natural draw to that. We wanted to get all of our local veterans in a room and be able to have the logistics line up so we could have a recipient at every table. So literally our local veterans could have an opportunity to sit and have lunch with, not an overly ambitious agenda. It was meant really just for discussion and getting to know a living Medal of Honor recipient. The sponsors would have their opportunity, certainly, and the rest of the society would have their opportunity, but we wanted something very unique for our veterans.
What do you say to a collection of the greatest heroes that this country has?
As the MC of the event, having had an opportunity through the years to do that on several occasions, never done anything like that. Never been in front of an audience that was as awe-inspiring as these gentlemen were. Now they're humble to the end of the earth, right? But they realize when they meet veterans like me that they represent something that's far greater than most of us can begin to imagine.
These men are the greatest treasures that America has. Everything that we have today, every pleasure that we enjoy, every breath of freedom that we take is a direct result of their actions and their influence on others.
And you realize that here's 54 living Medal of Honor recipients coming in. It just sort of a humbling experience, kind of a chill goes up your spine when you start thinking collectively of what that group of people, those men have done.
Just to walk into a room where all of those guys were and to know what some of their stories are and some of the things they've done, it was very humbling. I guess and there's really no word, but that's the closest one I can come up with.
The men that we honor today are the foundation of America, and it's what America is all about. I've had the opportunity to meet many of you in the past, and each time always respectful and convey a message of honor and humility. My grandmother used to say, "Your actions speak so loud, I can't hear a word you're saying." Well, your actions continue to speak just as loudly today.
When you come to Knoxville, you're going to find a very, very special place for the red, white, and blue. It will be there announcing itself in many different ways, and you'll see it as you come to Knoxville. The Veterans Luncheon, they could see that very clearly in the service and the selflessness of the men and women in uniform in East Tennessee. But it was a highlight for me, if I can be honest. It was a moment I will never forget, a privilege and a humbling moment I'll never forget. To say that it exceeded our expectations would be an understatement. It was absolutely spectacular in every way.
When they walked out, I mean, we had their escorts knew where their quilt was, and they went right to the quilt, and the response from the recipients was, I think, very telling.
Oh, Mr. Ballard.
Thank you for helping me.
Thank you for everything. Every time I put a stitch in that, I thought about you over there, doing what you were doing.
Where'd you come up with the idea for that?
You know, one of the things that surprised me today was how emotional the recipients got when they got their quilts.
I was happy when I first saw it because they just had played the film about the eagles upstairs. And then I walked down here and I see this quilt. It was perfect.
You think East Tennessee, you think the southern United States, and you think moonshine. I mean, this is, we've made it here for hundreds of years, so, what better to bring moonshine to a great group of people.
Several of the recipients who I think watched the show Moonshiners called and said, hey, you think we can get some, can we get some shine?
With Tennessee being the volunteer state, we have a rich history here of families coming together, and we've made moonshine together for hundreds of years here. And I mean, when times were bad, everybody come together. And I mean, it was neat to see everybody come together for that event, just like, we've done here for hundreds of years.
We started out and every recipient had a jar of moonshine in their welcome packet, and we had a lot of moonshine left over. We didn't have any moonshine left over after the convention. Several of the recipients came back for more.
The Taste of Tennessee was kind of a theme that we had throughout, mostly from a culinary standpoint. We wanted to make sure that they got to eat the very best and drink the very best. But we also wanted to give them a taste of Tennessee in terms of people and culture.
I left this once again, you leave this room full of all those people, you know, and you thank them for what they've done. I mean, you just, you know, kind of brought almost a tear to me to get to be able to do that, you know, and walk away, and you know, from that experience. We're a family, you know, owned company, family company. So I mean, I would see that they would help and continue to support, you know, things like the Medal of Honor and the other, you know, veterans.
You think of Taste of Tennessee, I mean, moonshine is, you know, is a part of that. And so we gave them a true taste of it. It wasn't just Jack Daniels, and we gave them some moonshine and Charlie Daniels and barbecue and everything else.
If we're known for nothing else in Tennessee, we're certainly known for country music.
When you think of entertainers that have a tie-in to the military, Charlie Daniels is number 1, 2, and 3 on that list.
One marble sun was shining, I was laying in bed, wondering if she had changed it all, if her hair was still red. Folks said that our lives together sure was gonna be rough, 'cause she never did like Mama's homemade dress.
He's a guy who does so many things for the veterans in so many ways. He is incredibly real, and he was moved when we asked him to be part of this. He said, where, when, what can I do? You let me know and I'll be there.
When we found out that we had been chosen to do this, I was just so deeply honored. They're incredible. I can't even articulate the way I feel about these guys. There's, out of all the people who serve in our armed forces, how many people actually win the Medal of Honor? And every time they do it, it's for something that just was absolutely incredible.
Said that our lives together sure was gonna be rough, 'cause she never did like Mama's homemade dress.
Several of the recipients had visited Knoxville. They felt the natural patriotism, whether it was at the East Tennessee Veterans Memorial or visiting schools and seeing the school children. There was no question that sense of patriotism attracted them to Knoxville.
You know, and I loved our event in Gettysburg. It was phenomenal. I would love to go back to visit Gettysburg any chance I get, but I could see moving to Knoxville after just the love and the welcome and the warmth there.
And putting the flag up was super great and a wonderfully exciting moment. Taking the flag down was a sense of closure, but understandably it was also a sense of sorrow to a certain extent that this too has passed, and that moment of sharing our recipients with the greater Knoxville area was really over, and it was an accomplished moment, but a difficult moment at the same time.
I thought it was time for the flag to come down. I thought Knoxville had a very enjoyable time. I thought the recipients had a great time.
When I tell you these two gentlemen have been working tirelessly for the last 3 years, day in, day out, 24/7, and around the clock, I'm not exaggerating. They have devoted themselves to making this convention the very best they and Tennessee can offer.
To look out and think all of the work that was done to make this happen, and we wanted that to be a crescendo, and the star power that showed up that evening certainly had something to do with that. But just the genuineness of wanting to celebrate these men and then to celebrate the award winners for the things they're doing was beyond words. 27 years I spent in the military. I'll tell you truthfully, I've never ever experienced anything like that.
On behalf of all the Medal of Honor recipients, we present this award to you. But most of all, we want to thank you for your truth that you bring in there to our homes. And thank you for who you are. God bless.
And that night itself was just the stem on top of the cherry, on top of the sundae, on top of the ice cream. It was overwhelming for us.
The values of the Medal of Honor embody are the values that Tennesseans strive to uphold. It has truly been an honor for us to share our home state with you, our nation's greatest heroes, the Medal of Honor recipients.
What a blessing it has been to be here in Knoxville these past few days and to share with our many new friends in a celebration of freedom, a time to honor, remember, and give thanks for those who have served and sacrificed for that freedom. it has been a time to experience a taste of Tennessee. Father, we have tasted, and it is good. Our hearts have been filled with a love for our country by countless numbers of people who have stood by the roads, waving Old Glory, holding signs of love, and proudly saluting as we passed by.
I was already a little emotional today, not being able to attend my 6-year-old boy's birthday party to be here. But I tried to explain to him, my 3 other children, and my wife how important it was to be here. I don't feel like I'm worthy to receive this award, but I'm certainly honored and humbled.
Something is really wrong. I don't belong in that seat, and I certainly don't belong to be honored by the people in this room. It would be an honor enough merely if you had invited me to this event, and I could have just sat in the hallway. But when a room full of men whose character has been tested in the direst circumstances imaginable, when they see fit, if Alan Lynch just said, "Hey kid, that was a good story," that would have been enough. But for this, it's more moving than you can imagine.
So for me to be up here and to be given this, I can't tell you how wrong it feels. Just like Jake said, you know, there's something wrong with this picture. This is about me. I tell them, it's not about you. This is my therapy, being with you, being in this room with people that wear that little sky blue ribbon and that medal is the greatest thrill of my life. This is the most extraordinary experience for me.
Really, I could not stand up before you tonight in good conscience if I thought that my primary purpose was to receive recognition from this group. Instead, I like to look at it like this. My primary purpose is to convey something in the opposite direction, and that is my profound admiration and respect for the heroes who have been awarded this medal and for the work of the Medal of Honor Society. They remind us of our loftiest ideals. They symbolize what we as a country value most highly. That is the message that the Medal of Honor and other high military awards convey. It is a vital message for all of us. The Medal of Honor Society deserves our deep thanks.
Being on the Patriot Gala stage and looking out in the front row and seeing my wife and my children, then to have my mom and dad and my mother and father-in-law, my friend Bruce Crandall, who's a recipient, sitting at the table with us. That's a moment that I think I'm still processing. To be able to share it the way we did, all of the work and effort that went in, and to see it come to a moment like that where we can look out and see our families celebrating this with us, that's, I'll never, ever forget that as long as I live.
So congratulations to all of our honorees tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, it's no surprise that preparations for next year's convention are already underway.
It was a welcome moment because it was a necessary transition for us to say, okay, it's time for somebody else to take over.
We're delighted to have with us tonight Medal of Honor recipient and Medal of Honor Society liaison for the Boston Convention, Thomas Kelly, here to represent his hometown. At this time, Thomas Kelly will have the Society flag passed on to them by this year's conventioners.
But I think it was also a moment for us to share with all the great things that happened in Knoxville with our brothers in Boston who are going to be putting it on next year, and lend our support to them, which we told them even as we were handling the flag to them. Whatever we can do to support you, we're glad to do that. I think back to when we received the flag in Gettysburg and how far we came. And it was a proud moment, it was a bittersweet moment, it was an emotional moment, but it was one that we continue to celebrate even as of today.
It was the ending of the Knoxville Convention and the start of the Boston Convention. It was a huge relief because everything had gone very well for the Knoxville Convention, but symbolically it also started the Boston Convention, which I'm sure will be fantastic.
We wanted for this to blow them out of the water when they came to Knoxville, and then for them to still be talking about Knoxville at this stage of the game, and they are. So
we want the recipients to look back, 20 years from now, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, and say that Knoxville was the turning point for perpetuating the legacy of the Medal of Honor and its recipients.
If we can encourage a youth to have more confidence in themselves and work harder at whatever they're going to do, then that's our sole purpose.
For Knoxville to leave a legacy with the Medal of Honor Society, the Character Development Program is a very large part of that.
The CDP is it's the Congressional Medal of Honor Society's way to ensure that they leave a legacy for future generations.
When we were awarded the convention, we kind of adopted a laser focus on making sure that the Character Development Program would be a spotlight for the legacy of the Medal of Honor. That when they came here, they weren't just going to be wined and dined and see how much love people have for them, but there would be something that lives on.
And there's nothing more important to the Medal of Honor recipients today than the Character Development Program. And we'll continue to work with it, we'll continue to improve on it and expand upon it, and recipients will continue to come to Tennessee to be a part of it.
I think Joe and I, our ultimate goal was to make sure that when the recipients came here, they felt like they were home. That this wasn't just another trip, that it wasn't just another spot on the map. That when they came here, they felt like they were home. They felt like the greater part of East Tennessee doesn't just embrace them for who they are as recipients of the Medal of Honor, but in the true spirit, the genuineness of the people in this area, that they would feel like they were home, like they had somehow been here before, and want them to leave knowing that this is a place they can always come back to, especially without all the fanfare. If they want to just come back and enjoy Knoxville once again, that the city would always be open to having them back.
It will be a double-edged sword when it's over, because the anticipation has been so great for so long, and although it's like so much work and you're glad that you're on the other side of it as long as it's successful, but then also I'm going to miss everyone too.
The city should be very proud. Joe and I knew going into this thing that the city would really rise up, and that the legacy of Knoxville would be a very warm one, a very heartfelt one. And the city far surpassed anything we could have ever imagined. This is an American city. This is a city in a greater region of East Tennessee that values our men and women in uniform. They don't have to be recipients of the nation's greatest award, the nation's highest award for that. Just the fact that we have men and women who are willing to raise their hands and write a blank check up to the cost of their lives is something that is not taken lightly in East Tennessee. It's celebrated, it's honored, it's respected. And so, quite naturally, when the recipients came here, it's hard not to feel that. And they could feel it from the moment they got off the tarmac and the jetway into our airport until the time the wheels left the ground again. Nobody said it better than Bruce Crandall. They will leave Knoxville, but Knoxville will never leave them.